31M, live in a relatively quiet neighborhood where everyone knows each other, at least by sight. But there was one house that stood out because the owner, Mr. Thompson, was a bit of a recluse. He was a middle-aged man who rarely left his house, and when he did, it was usually late at night. Despite his odd hours, he was always polite in the few interactions we had. One day, I noticed something strange. I hadn't seen Mr. Thompson in weeks. His lawn was overgrown, and the mail was piling up. At first, I thought he might be on an extended vacation, but as more time passed, I began to worry. I asked around, but no one had seen him. Then, late one night, I saw a flicker of light from his basement window. It was unusual because, as far as I knew, Mr. Thompson never used his basement. My curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to investigate. I walked over to his house and knocked on the door. No answer. I knocked again, harder this time. Still nothing. I tried the door, and to my surprise, it was unlocked. I stepped inside, calling out for Mr. Thompson, but the house was eerily silent. As I made my way to the basement door, I heard a faint humming noise. I hesitated but then slowly opened the door and descended the stairs. The humming grew louder, and as I reached the bottom, I saw a peculiar machine emitting a soft blue glow. Next to it was a stack of papers covered in complex equations and diagrams. Remember to subscribe for part 2. Suddenly, I heard a noise behind me. I spun around to see Mr. Thompson standing there, looking disheveled and tired. He was startled to see me but quickly composed himself. "You shouldn't be here," he said sternly. I apologized and explained that I was worried about him. His expression softened, and he sighed. "I suppose I owe you an explanation." He told me he was a physicist working on a secret project for the government involving time travel. The machine in his basement was a prototype, and he'd been working on it non-stop, which is why he hadn't been seen for weeks. He assured me he was fine and asked me to keep everything I'd seen a secret. I left, feeling a mix of relief and disbelief. The next day, Mr. Thompson was gone. His house was empty, and a "for sale" sign was in the yard. I never saw him again, but every now and then, I'd hear strange noises coming from the house. One night, I decided to sneak back and the basement door was locked, but I managed to pick it. To my astonishment, the machine was gone. In its place was a letter addressed to me. I opened it and read, "Remember to subscribe for part 3. Dear, your name. If you're reading this, it means I've successfully traveled to the past to correct a mistake. Don't worry, the future is in good hands. Remember, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. Best, Mr. Thompson." I never found out what mistake he was trying to fix, but I've always wondered if he succeeded. The house eventually sold, and new neighbors moved in, none the wiser about the secret their basement once held. One day, while organizing some old photos, I stumbled upon an old newspaper clipping. It featured a young physicist named Edward Thompson, hailed as a prodigy in his field. The date was from decades ago, but the man in the photo looked eerily similar to my former neighbor. The resemblance was uncanny. With a sense of foreboding, I realized that I might never fully understand what happened to Mr. Thompson. All I knew was that he had disappeared, leaving behind more questions than answers. And me. I keep that letter as a reminder that even the most ordinary lives can hide extraordinary secrets. I never found out about what happened to Mr. Thompson again, but I feel his presence lingering around the neighborhood. Remember to subscribe for more.